You've been drinking coffee wrong your entire life. Not because of what you're adding to it, but because of what you're missing. One single clove, less than 10 cents. Probably sitting in your kitchen right now, and when combined with your morning coffee, it does something no pill on a pharmacy shelf can replicate. What happens inside your body in the first 15 minutes is something most doctors will never tell you, and billion-dollar supplement companies are desperately hoping you never find out. If you're over 60 and you wake up with brain fog that doesn't lift until noon, bloating after meals, unpredictable blood sugar spikes, quiet aching in your knees and joints, or fatigue that refuses to leave even after 8 hours of sleep, then what I'm about to share could completely change your morning starting tomorrow. Because here is what 99% of people do not understand about their daily cup of coffee. Coffee is not just caffeine. It is one of the richest sources of polyphenols available in the entire human diet. Polyphenols are plant compounds with extraordinary antioxidant and anti-inflammatory power. Coffee contains over 1,000 different bioactive compounds, but without one specific addition, your body is only absorbing a fraction of its potential. And the reason comes down to a biological process most people have never heard of. I'm Dr. Faviemo, and this channel exists to bring you the latest evidence-based research on senior health in a way that is genuinely practical and easy to use. If you have not subscribed yet, do it now so you never miss what we are covering. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Beatrice. Beatrice was a 68-year-old retired nurse. She had been drinking coffee every single morning for 40 years. She came to me complaining about joint stiffness that lasted until mid-morning, blood sugar readings that spiked unpredictably after breakfast despite eating the exact same foods every day, and a mental sluggishness she described as thinking through fog. She had already seen 3 different doctors. Not one of them had connected her morning routine to any of her symptoms. Not one of them had asked what was in her coffee. When I told her about one specific addition she could make to her morning brew, she stared at me with complete skepticism. A nurse with 40 years of experience. She said, "Doctor, a clove?" 6 weeks later, she walked back into my clinic. We will return to Beatrice, because what her morning readings and joint assessment showed at that follow-up is the exact reason I made this video. First, the science you need to understand. Coffee without clove is a powerful but incomplete tool. Here is why. Coffee is rich in chlorogenic acids, a specific class of polyphenols that slow glucose absorption in the small intestine, improve insulin sensitivity, and reduce oxidative stress in arterial walls. Research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that regular coffee consumption was associated with a 25 to 30% lower risk of type 2 diabetes compared to no coffee at all. The chlorogenic acids are the primary mechanism behind that. But here is the problem nobody talks about. The caffeine in coffee triggers a cortisol response, especially when consumed first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Cortisol is the body's primary stress hormone, and it directly counteracts insulin sensitivity. So coffee's beneficial effect on blood sugar is being partially undermined by its own cortisol spiking effect. And this is especially significant in adults over 60, whose cortisol clearance is already slower. This is exactly where clove changes everything. Clove, the dried flower bud of the Syzygium aromaticum tree, contains the highest concentration of a compound called eugenol of any spice on the planet. Eugenol is a phenylpropanoid compound that does 3 things simultaneously inside your body, and each one directly targets the symptoms I described at the start of this video. First, eugenol is a potent COX-2 inhibitor. COX-2, or cyclooxygenase COX-2 is the enzyme responsible for producing prostaglandins, the chemical messengers that drive inflammation and joint pain. COX-2 inhibition is the same mechanism used by prescription anti-inflammatory medications like celecoxib. Clove achieves a meaningful level of this inhibition naturally, without the gastrointestinal side effects that come with pharmaceutical COX-2 inhibitors. Research published in the Journal of Immunotoxicology confirmed Eugenol's significant anti-inflammatory activity through this exact pathway. Second, Eugenol has powerful insulin mimetic properties. It activates GLUT4 transporters, the proteins on muscle cell surfaces that pull glucose out of the bloodstream and into the cells. This is essentially the same pathway that insulin uses to lower blood sugar. Research published in the Journal of Natural Products found that Eugenol improved insulin sensitivity and reduced fasting blood glucose in diabetic models. Human studies have confirmed that clove consumption meaningfully reduces postprandial blood glucose, that is, the blood sugar spike that follows a meal. Third, and this is the detail most people never hear, Eugenol crosses the blood-brain barrier, that protective filter that prevents most compounds from ever entering brain tissue. Eugenol passes through it, activates GABA receptors in the brain, and simultaneously reduces neuroinflammation, the low-grade inflammatory state in brain tissue that is one of the primary drivers of cognitive sluggishness in older adults. A study published in Molecular Neurobiology found that Eugenol reduced markers of neuroinflammation and improved cognitive performance in aged models. Now, when clove is added to coffee, the Eugenol and the chlorogenic acids work through complementary and reinforcing pathways. The chlorogenic acids slow intestinal glucose absorption. The Eugenol simultaneously improves insulin sensitivity at the cellular level. Together, they address blood sugar regulation at two completely different points in the process at the same time. The cortisol spike from caffeine is partially offset by Eugenol's anti-inflammatory and GABA modulating effect, which reduces the stress hormone response. And the combined antioxidant load of both compounds creates a protective environment in the vascular walls that neither one provides as effectively alone. All of this begins happening in your bloodstream within 15 minutes of drinking properly brewed clove coffee. Now let me give you the exact protocol, because how you prepare this matters as much as what you combine. Take one whole dried clove. If you use a drip coffee maker or cafetiere, place it directly in your coffee grounds before brewing. If you use instant coffee, bring a cup of water to near boiling. Place the clove in the water and steep for 5 minutes before adding your coffee. Do not boil the clove vigorously. Eugenol degrades at sustained high temperatures. Steeping at near boiling, approximately 90 to 95 degrees Celsius, extracts eugenol effectively without destroying it. 1 whole dried clove per cup, not a tablespoon of ground clove. Ground clove releases eugenol too rapidly and the concentration becomes overwhelming, producing a numbing sensation in the mouth. 1 whole clove, steeped or brewed, gives a subtle, warming, slightly sweet flavor that most people find genuinely pleasant. Do not add sugar. Sugar immediately spikes insulin in a way that directly counteracts the GLUT4-mediated glucose uptake that eugenol is promoting. If you need sweetness, a small amount of raw honey added after brewing is acceptable. Raw honey contains compounds including methyl glyoxal that have modest blood sugar modulating properties of their own. Do not take this combination on a completely empty stomach if you're sensitive to caffeine. Have a small amount of food, even just a few nuts or a piece of fruit, in the 15 to 20 minutes beforehand. This slows caffeine absorption, further reduces the cortisol spike, and allows the chlorogenic acids and eugenol to work without being overwhelmed by rapid caffeine-driven cortisol elevation. The optimal time to drink this is between 90 minutes and 2 hours after waking. Research from Harvard Medical School on cortisol rhythms found that cortisol naturally peaks in the first 60 to 90 minutes after waking as part of the cortisol awakening response. Drinking coffee inside that window amplifies an already maxed out cortisol load. Waiting 90 minutes allows cortisol to begin its natural decline before caffeine introduces its own stimulating effect. If you have made it this far, you're clearly someone who takes this seriously. Over the years in my clinic, I have seen one simple truth play out again and again. It is never about doing something extreme. It is about doing the right small things every single day. That is exactly why I created a guide called the 30-Day Blood Pressure Reset for Seniors. It is a simple, step-by-step plan designed to support healthy blood pressure through gentle daily routines, light exercises, and clear guidance you can follow entirely at home. I am only allowing 30 people in right now because I want to follow up closely with each person. If your current routine is not giving you the clarity or control you need, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on your screen before those spots are filled. And because you're part of this community, I have added a 70% discount, so cost is never the barrier. After completing your purchase, drop your email so I can follow up with you personally and help you stay consistent. Now, 2 important things before you try this. First, who should be cautious? Clove is safe for the vast majority of people, but specific groups need to speak with their doctor first. If you are taking blood-thinning medications, such as warfarin or clopidogrel, have that conversation before starting. Eugenol has mild antiplatelet properties. It slightly reduces the tendency of blood to clot, which is beneficial for most people in terms of cardiovascular risk. But in someone already on anticoagulant medication, the additive effect could theoretically increase bleeding risk. The interaction is mild, but worth discussing. If you have liver disease, use clove cautiously. Eugenol is processed by the liver, and at very high doses has been associated with liver stress in animal studies. 1 clove per day is a very low dose and has not been shown to cause problems in healthy adults. But if your liver function is already compromised, talk to your doctor. If you're taking diabetes medications, particularly those that aggressively lower blood sugar like insulin or sulfonylureas, be aware that clove's insulin mimetic effect may add to the glucose-lowering action of your medication. Monitor your blood sugar closely in the first week and report any unexpected low readings immediately. Second, quality matters enormously. The eugenol content of cloves varies significantly depending on quality and storage. Freshly dried whole cloves stored in an airtight container away from light retain their eugenol content for up to 2 years. Cloves that are old, pale, soft, or have been kept in a transparent container exposed to light have likely lost most of their active compounds. Good quality whole cloves should be dark brown to almost black, firm, and should release a strong, sharp, sweet aroma the moment you scratch them. That aroma is eugenol. If the aroma is faint, the eugenol is gone. Buy from a spice retailer with high turnover, not a container that has been sitting on your shelf for 3 years. I promised I would come back to Beatrice. 6 weeks after beginning her clove coffee routine, 1 whole clove, brewed properly, taken 90 minutes after waking, without sugar, every morning, she came back for her follow-up. Her fasting blood glucose, which had been consistently elevated in the borderline range, had returned to normal on 4 of the 5 mornings she measured it in the final week. Her morning joint stiffness, which had been lasting until 10 or 11 in the morning, was now resolving within 30 minutes of waking. And the brain fog she had described as her most disabling symptom was, in her own words, almost completely gone. She looked at me and said, I have been a nurse for 35 years. I have recommended 1,000 things to patients. I cannot believe a clove in my coffee fixed something that 3 doctors could not explain. That is the power of understanding mechanism rather than just following protocol. The mechanism was always there. The clove was always in the spice cabinet. What was missing was someone willing to explain exactly why it works. The complete protocol stated clearly one final time. 1 whole dried clove steeped in near boiling water for 5 minutes, or brewed directly with your coffee grounds, taken 90 minutes after waking, not on a completely empty stomach, without sugar, every single day, consistently. The eugenol in that 1 clove will activate your GLUT4 transporters, inhibit COX2-driven joint inflammation, cross the blood-brain barrier to reduce neuroinflammation and morning cognitive sluggishness, and works synergistically with coffee's chlorogenic acids to deliver dual-pathway blood sugar regulation, all from a 10-cent spice that has been sitting in kitchens around the world for thousands of years. Which of the symptoms I described applies to you? Brain fog, joint stiffness, blood sugar spikes, or morning fatigue? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one. And if someone you care about is over 60 and starting their morning with plain coffee and none of the results they hoped for, share this video with them today. Most people keep waiting for the perfect moment to take their health seriously, and that moment never comes. That is exactly why I put together the 30-day blood pressure reset for seniors, a simple daily structure with gentle exercises, clear daily habits, and a plan you can actually stick to. I'm keeping it limited to 30 people so I can observe each person closely. Once those spots are gone, I will close it. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code now, and since you're part of this audience, like family to me, I have added a 70% discount so you can start without any hesitation. After completing your purchase, drop your email and I will follow up with you personally to help you stay on track. Disclaimer: everything shared in this video is general medical and nutritional information based on published research in food science, pharmacology, and clinical nutrition. It is not personal medical advice for your individual situation. If you're taking blood-thinning medications, diabetes medications, or have a liver condition, please speak with your doctor before adding clove to your daily routine. Dietary additions are a complement to medical care, not a replacement for it. Always consult your physician before making changes that may affect your medication management.